And this is a unique presentation for me. I usually lecture about heavy-duty geopolitical issues, such as the Israeli assault on Gaza or 9/11. And in fact, my husband Ralph, who's here, and I were in India and Pakistan in October doing research on 9/11, interviewing journalists, former intelligence directors in India and Pakistan, as well as military generals. So while we were there, though, you know, being who I am, I have to notice the dogs. And we came upon a very unique situation, unique whether it's the United States, but particularly unique for India. And that is the dogs of the Lodi Garden. And today I'm going to do a presentation not just about the dogs of the Lodi Garden. There are 25 to 30 dogs at one time in this very famous garden within New Delhi. And I'm also going to talk about the situation of animal rescue, of dog rescue, and the stray population in India, and also the unique situation of what's called the pariah dogs, and now is termed in dogs, or Indian native dogs. Because as you see, these are primarily mixtures, but there is, you can tell from this first photograph, something unique about all these mixtures, and that is their curved long tail, which is a feature of what we call the pariah dog, what they call the Indian native dog. Well, let's first look at India, the subcontinent of India, which has a population of 1.15 billion people compared to the 300 million people of the United States. But of this 1.15 billion, there are about 31 million dogs. In the United States, according to the internet records, there are about 70 million pet dogs, and the federal government says that there are about 33 million roaming dogs. Now, these roaming dogs, some of them could be pets, but we don't know of the 70 million how many of them fit into the federal government's 33 million roaming dogs. In India, however, 80% of all dogs are roaming dogs. And by roaming dogs, we mean pet dogs who are unrestricted, which could be included also in the United States. Most of us keep our pets restricted under our control. That wasn't the case generations ago in the United States. It's also not the case in most rural areas. But in India, whether it's the urban or it's the rural, most pets are unrestricted. But there are also community dogs. These are dogs who don't have any specific owner. And you find this in villages particularly, or in the slums of India, where the dogs they belong to a community. People might be feeding them. No one feeds them regularly. They're called community dogs. And Ray Coppinger has done excellent work about this, what he calls the village dogs. In his wonderful book, Dogs, he looks at village dogs in Pemba, which is an island off of East Africa. So in India, 80% are roaming dogs. That means it's a population of 25 to 28 million dogs. Unlike the United States, these dogs are primarily unsterilized and unvaccinated. And it's the unvaccinated part that is particularly significant. In the United States, about 2 people die a year from rabies. In India, 20,000 people die a year from rabies. This is 1 every 30 minutes. In India, 1 person every 30 minutes, even though it's a vast population, still it shouldn't be happening. And this is 60% of the worldwide rabies deaths, according to the World Health Organization. Remember, people who have pets are not vaccinating them, and there is no sense of sterilizing your pets, even with people who are highly educated. As people we met, when they had dogs, their dogs were unneutered and unspayed. And they're trying to change this now in India because of the high rabies deaths. If a person is bitten, and over 90% of all animal bites are dog bites in India. It's not wild animals, it's not the cows, it's not other animals. It's 91% of all dog bites, of all animal bites in India are dog bites. And 60% is the estimate come from the stray or roaming dogs. So for India, the control of the dog population is not just an aesthetic issue, it is, or for the welfare of the animals, it has been for hundreds of years an issue of survival. Today we're going to look particularly where we were in New Delhi, which is in Haryana state. Up in the north you can see Delhi. And then also we're going to look at a situation in Agra where the Taj Mahal and the Red Fort are, and that's in Uttar Pradesh. But also, because I became fascinated by the dogs of the Lodi Garden, I did this internet research and I found incredible photographs of pariah, the Indian native dogs, in Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Assam, and West Bengal. And all these photos are going to be in tribal areas. So we're going to see today both urban dogs and we're going to see tribal areas where you're going to find the original Indian native dog. So let's look first at New Delhi, because that's the main focus of where we are. And this is the area we're going to focus around the Lodi Garden, here the Lodi Colony and the Khan Market. And to understand the dogs of India, you also have to understand the history. And New Delhi itself is a planned city. It has nothing to do with the old city of Delhi. In 1912, the British occupiers, and Britain had control of India since the 1850s, Britain decided to build a new city and to replace Calcutta, which is now called Kolkata, the Indian name, as the seat of the British Indian government. And they picked an area south of this walled city, which is the old city of Delhi. And this old walled city was built in the 1600s by the Mughal, the Mongol rulers of India. We think of India as Hindu and Vedic, but actually for over 500 years, India was ruled by the Mongols and also the Pashtuns, the people from Afghanistan. So when India decided to replace the old walled city as the capital, to replace Calcutta and move everything from the east of India to the west and Delhi, Edward Lutyens, who is known as the greatest British architect, designed an entirely new city. And consequently, what they did is they removed the population that had been living in Delhi for thousands of years, and particularly since the Mongols had made Delhi the seat of the sultanates of the country, and they removed them. And particularly in this area around the Lodi Garden, the Lodi Colony is where the government officials lived, and then you'll see down below it says Defense Colony, and that's where the generals, the colonels, the high military officials lived. So let's look at this Lodi Garden here. We were staying in this academic and cultural center, the India International Center, which actually takes up this entire area, and it's an incredible garden. And then it took 30 years to build New Delhi. By 1936, it was completed, and the Raj completely evacuated all the people who were around the Lodi Garden for their own homes, but also to turn this ancient area into Lady Willoughby's garden. And that's Lady Willingdon Park, excuse me. Lady Willingdon was the wife of the Viceroy of India at the time. And they turned this into an English landscaped garden. And Edward Lutyens, besides being an architect, is a very well-known designer of gardens.